shared space here on YouTube, Natural Connection with the Shaman. I'm your host, Shaman Odin Greywolf, and this is my co-host, Jamie Jette. Excuse me, I got a late start today. And we're talking about our universe today. So go ahead and hang on. I got a late start today. And we're talking about our universe. If I don't do that, it'll echo and screech.
Hi, I'm Jamie Jette from Shangri-La and Stargate Sound Medicine. And yeah, let's dive in and see what the cards or just conversation comes out.
All right.
Oh, he says this at the end, but if you'll stick around and and then push the little bell on his channel, this really helps Odin help other people around whoever is not live now, but listens later. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for that, Jamie. So we were talking yesterday, and the topic come up of, do you believe we live in a safe universe? Like, can you trust the universe, or do you trust the universe? And it's a good question to ask people. I know I got a reading. I was telling Jamie Jette, I was listening to a friend of mine who does tarot readings, and she was doing the cancer reading, and she's like, you know what makes people upset with you? And it's your ability to trust the universe. Because I do. Sometimes that trust, I've heard people say, how could you be so woo woo or fairy tale or fantasy? And I'm like, I feel like Mr. Magoo. I can walk blindly through the streets and I know I won't fall because the universe has my back. So that's kind of how I look at things with the universe. What about you, Jamie? What was your topics with it?
Well, I used to decades ago. I didn't know even a conversation about the choice of trusting or not trusting the universe. Is it safe? Is it unsafe? And now, as I'm getting older, these things are coming up as people, as your viewers know, whether we like it or not, it comes in your face. And after being hit by a 2x4 so many years and not paying attention to the signs and not paying attention to the clues, I really quickly learned that, the universe does have my back. And it's a change or an upgrade, if you will, of consciousness. Now, we talked about that in that book from Michael Beckwith that talks about the 4 levels of consciousness. And I know there's even more. But the first level is in that 3rd dimension, which is everything happens to me. But when you really, really, I mean, really embody that things are happening for us and the ego gets out of the way and says, okay, I don't like it. My humanness doesn't like this. However, if you just breathe, take that breath in,
Right.
and just out, it kind of just slows. It's a controlled or a navigated pause. And when we pause, it allows that fear conditioning to it allows us, or for myself, it allows me to be able to take a hold of my wheel, my navigating wheel, and say, no, no, no. Up until now, I felt everything happened to me, but going forward, I trust. I really do. And there's been a lot of times where, are you crazy, girl? Are you smoking crack? Are what? Who in their right mind would want to sit there after experiences and say, I know the universe has my back. But I can safely say it now that, yeah, and it's getting a little easier, just like with anything, meditation, journaling. It's a choice of practice. So,
You said something interesting, and it really sparked this topic in my mind about reading the signs, right? And that, after so many years of learning the universe's language, right, which is so many different ways, that's kind of where my trust comes from, because there's no way that I can't see the universal sign. I literally, it's almost like my this universe is a pinball game, and there's just signs and synchronicities and images and numbers and words, and people say things at the right time. And I mean, it's almost autistic, to where you're like on this spectrum all the time, to where the universe is just communicating with us like code, a matrix code. And when you really have spent enough time learning the matrix code, well, you can't help but not trust the universe. It's there. You're watching it in real time. And I get it all the time. I'll have these down moments and I'm like, oh, like this morning, my question for my journal was, am I just living in a loop? Right? Well, so that was the question I threw out from waking up. And I start going with the synchronicities, with the dates and everything. And it's like, no, you're not living in a loop. Haven't I told you? How many times do I have to tell you? I'm pulling tarot cards and it's going like, no, trust me. What is wrong with you? So it's a really beautiful orchestra, but it does take a lot of time to learn the language of the universe. And,
I
it's
don't know,
changing. And
I don't know that we even completely, um, hmm, this is a good question for myself. Do we, or does one in one lifetime even remotely begin to um, decode or learn the codes of the universe? Because I-
mm,
I'm I'm thinking, I kept saying this morning for self, is change. Change is, I mean, if they taught us that as children in our conditioning years, I think a lot of us adults would be a little more flexible. I know
yeah,
myself, I would. So now it's almost like a mantra. Change is growth, change is expansion, change is guaranteed, like cement cracks, man.
yeah,
So, um, anyway, I really think it's a good point that you said. It's practice, and
yeah,
that's where we just be gentle with ourselves. I know we'll talk about this a few more times in the next coming months because of um, all the energy and the frequency that's happening globally around the world, that coming back into self, into our free will, and not listen to the chitty chatter outside,
right.
just to go and sit. I think you said it be at the over the weekend. I mean, one of your casts, that you just sit with nature. I mean, all like you said, it was all the brilliant teachers went and sat in nature and just sat with themselves, and that's where I think the universe comes in and says, let's have a conversation.
Right.
I You're back. I've got I'm here to support you. We're learning so much right now, John, with the explosive idea. I know they dipped into it thousands of years ago, knowing that they could talk to the universe or with the universe, but all that got dumbed down again.
Yeah.
They didn't want the people or the peoples to know their worth, their talent, their amazing um, um, antenna, if you will, that connects to the universe. There's a group of patriarchal. I'm thinking, man, I don't know history too much. I'm sure some of your viewers who are good at religious studies, um, they invoked fear. I think Cheryl said this, that runs two things. um, fear and something else. And that's not something I want to do anymore. And that's why I'm coming on your podcast, because I really think it's important. Those who have ears, or those who are saying, I want to vibrate at a higher frequency. I don't know that I know, but I know I'm supposed to do something here on this planet, but I'm not supposed to, um, it doesn't feel good listening to the fear. It doesn't feed my soul or my heart or wherever you're feeling it in your body. So yeah, it's just a matter of practices, and they're coming there. I mean, the signs, the messages. I think back, God, 15 years ago, I wasn't even tapped in. And what is that? Abraham Hicks says, the minute you tap in and tune in, you get turned on, or
Yeah.
something like that. And that resonated with me for a long time. And I thought, well, what does that mean to tune in? What does it mean? And lo and behold, the more silent you are,
Mm.
um, easier the conversation or the message is. I know that sounds like one of the elders yesterday at Life Reflection Cafe said, it's that simple.
It really
It's
is. It really is. And you know how you said that it's been dumbed down, and it's kind of, it sounds counterintuitive, but they dumbed us down by speeding us up. So I say that we have the universe's language now, right? So all the signs of synchronicity, but that's because we've got so much buzzing in our ears. But back then, yeah, the simplest practice was sit down. What do I do to get, hey, what's up, Rick? You know, back in the days, they're like, what do I do to get in touch with God or the divine or all the names they used to call it? And the teacher said, just be still. Just and nowadays we're like ping pong, pong, pong. You know, it's so much noise, but that helps learning the language of all the noises because it's like an encoded message. As a matter of fact, watching my backplay on the laptop, it looks silly. As a matter of fact, I was watching a silly, playful TV series. It's called The Dispatch of Elsewhere. And as the series gets really deep into, yeah, it's really weird.
no,
And
I like I'm like, woo, we're gonna go with that sometime.
oh yeah, dude, it was so yesterday I was grinding herbs into powder, right, with my pistol and mortar. And I'm like, you know what? This is boring just listening to music or just sitting here grinding. So I put on Netflix and there's this it's like a low budget type of a series, and it almost seemed like it was AI created kind of, right? So I thought, why not? I liked the name. I tapped into it, and it was one of those things that like I don't know if it was the magic from grinding the herbs or what, but it started speaking to me and I'm all, okay. So I started watching it. It's really interesting. Once you learn that underneath all of this pinball world, because there's a lot of pinball, there's the pinball distraction, and then encoded in all of this distraction is an underlying message. And you know what came to my mind? Was religion actually hiding it from us, or were they giving it to us on a silver platter, but only if you were awake? So if we look at religions in that sense, they've always been sharing the real messages, even though they talk about a evil and a good. And there's still, once you're awake, you can't help but to see the what do you call that? The Da Vinci Code in all of it. So it got me thinking how our world, like you said, fear spreading. We could be self-inducing our own fear spreading by saying, oh, religious people are hiding all the answers for us. Oh, the government is after us. Or what if they're all working in tandem with us? You know, if we turn that viewpoint around and thought of it that way, we know that there's data collection, right? There's the 3D world. We know that there's data collection. Everything you look at on television, every time you hit like button, this video we're recording right now, all gets sent to a think tank that deciphers what they can sell us, right? Well, I mean, everybody's trying to make a buck, right? But underneath all of that, there's still something greater to it. Underneath those algorithms and tech that's trying to monetize us, there is a spirit also in there throwing out signs and messages. So it's a really deep show. I don't know. I'm kind of going off the deep end now.
No, maybe you can put it in the chat after the live goes down. But yeah, we talked about a lot of things yesterday. I mean, thank you for bringing up this part about for your viewers to ask, and it's a personal thing. Just like, I mean, it's personal. So the answer is within yourself.
Yeah.
Um, can I say that can I trust life? And do I really feel that this is a safe universe? And it's almost like, I don't know why this just came. It's almost like zipping up your coat and making a choice that you're gonna be bundled up with a zipped coat.
Right.
And yes, I do believe. I have no idea what that looks like, but yeah, and it's almost like a closure. The minute you make the choice, there's no um, floundering. Not like a fish. Excuse me. It's definitely a game changer. Not only for yourself, It's not only for yourself, it's for your friends and
Yeah.
your family and people around you. I mean, once that vibration changes and that frequency changes, it can't help
Yeah.
to radiate. We have these amazing phones
Yeah.
and that we're so connected. And so the idea and the potential and possibilities of so many conversations and so much going on beyond this eye that I see in this dimension, and trust. And I know there's a lot, I'm really getting involved with a lot of channelers, and
Yeah.
they're all saying the same thing. We are masters of
Yeah.
our own world. Now, your choice is to become a victim or you can be a victor. And I don't know how that looks. I don't, um, I just know it's an inside job.
Yeah.
But when you decide that, yeah, you decide that, and you listen and you start being around like minded people that know and believe these people are channeling from the other side and saying, we are masters.
Yeah.
Yesterday, some into tears, I told you and Cheryl that I read something that can you imagine? Just close your eyes and just imagine somehow that the universe, whatever that looks like to you, guardian angels, ancestors, Christ itself,
Yeah.
um, but just thinking and had somebody whisper in your ear, you are adored.
Right.
You are adored. Not today, not tomorrow. You are always adored.
Right.
Wow. That was, that struck my heart really loud because all of a sudden it brought me to where I was little. And I remember that feeling. I remember I don't know how to describe it, John. I didn't know how to describe it to you guys yesterday.
Yeah.
Where we, when we remember, yeah, that's the word. When we remember being adored, wow, that feeling of that little precious baby
Yeah.
that you were, we all came out of our mother's womb,
Right.
and uh, yeah,
I remember you were talking about that, the three generations, and it. I never heard it that sense, but it reminded me of the mother maiden crone, right? Because they're all simultaneously one. There's no separate. They're the same person. And we were talking about how you were in your mother's DNA at the time that she was in her mother, the three generations, and how exactly when a baby's born, nobody everybody adores those babies. So that is how you came into this world. And when we say things like, do you trust that you're in a safe universe? This brings to mind because yeah, we do forget that. And a lot of times my messages will tell me, you don't know what people see you like from their eyes. You only see yourself from your eyes. And I try to keep that in mind anytime I feel like lack mentality, because it does. It's not like you change, you're awakened, and oh, all those insecurities are gone. It's not. Life is life. So every time, that's how you make the decision when you're feeling low and insecure, or sometimes it takes a nice friend to remind you, oh, you don't really believe that way, do you? No, you're right. I'm adored. I'm loved. Came into this world through love. And it is true. I love babies. I got grandbabies right now, and oh my god, when I see their faces, like, and my youngest one, she's starting to get her giggles now. Like, that is the cutest thing I have ever seen in my life when babies giggle. You can't help but just melt inside.
so imagine with your eyes closed,
Mm,
seeing yourself as your grandbaby,
mhm.
that you were once that. And now remembering it hasn't changed, just our body has grown like a tree. It comes from an acorn to an oak tree to branches and extends. But to have just maybe just the idea of remembering that the universe always adores.
Right? That is. That's how the universe sees us.
Yeah.
And if anything, like people who do live in fear, like I said, that show kind of opened my eyes about, what if religion wasn't hiding it? They were just feeding it to us, but nobody got it until a lot of people got it, right? So once you learn how to read between the lines of all the busybody universe, that's what you see. Is the universe looks at you like that little baby, and it's just in awe of you. It's like, oh my god, this one learned how to read, and look, it picked up the little trick we gave it. It's right there. It picked it up. It picked it up. It
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
cutest thing. I
It's kind
remember.
of fun to experiment with the universe because this is all new for me. I want to say the last year, even though many of us have been channeling for a long time.
Oh yeah.
It's in different ways. I think there's 9 different ways that we are aware of. But the fact I I just joined another gal in Colorado, and it was very interesting. They've been doing it for years and years and years. And I'm like a scribe. I write everything because I don't know why. Maybe it's part of what is from before in lifetimes. Um, but they said, so what is your take after the 45 minutes? I said, are you kidding? I have my marching orders. I know exactly. They just told us what we are to do. And she
Right.
said, I've never thought of it that way. And I said, well, that's how I heard it, that they were giving us instructions. It's almost like they were giving us a blueprint, and this is what it was a message from the other side. I was like, this is exciting because now I have a compass. I
Yeah.
know it sounds really crazy, but yeah,
No, it
this group
doesn't.
stuff for 8 years and they hadn't, and somehow I showed up and said, "There, this is, we have marching orders. They're telling us how and what to do to keep the vibration up, to remember who we are,
You know,
who
it's
we."
and you gathered that out of all the conversation, right? As the many people spoke back and forth, your downloads came through their conversation. Exactly. That doesn't sound crazy at all. Let me tell you something that you I used to think sounded crazy, but it works for me. Number one, I'd go downtown to Fremont and I would just stand still on a busy weekend night and all the conversations, and eventually they turn into a lull. But people's conversations start the same thing. Your downloads come through other people. They're filling the sentence. Another thing I used to do, I would turn on a live stream on my phone, on my laptop, on my TV, and then I would play like music, live music, or the radio. Something, things that I cannot control. Everything had to be live streaming. And I would lay down on my mattress, let my mind go calm, and the same thing happens. At first, it sounds chaotic. At first, it sounds like a bunch of offbeat and noise, banging pots and pans, right? But the more that you relax, all of a sudden they all start aligning and synchronizing. And that's where I would get my information. I have a thing with writing too, because it tends to slip right out of my mind unless I write it down. So you'll catch me like I've got astrology cards that I keep down so that when I'm looking at the charts, as soon as I look at the charts, if I don't write down what's going on, I forget it for the rest of the day. So it's a part of it. Keeping in contact with the universe is actually keeping as little as possible held onto inside of our minds. Because if we're holding on to something for dear life, there's no flow.
Yeah, it's that grip. It's that. And the
Yeah.
minute you can feel it,
Right.
and then it's for that surrender and that. Hmm, it's an energy release, I guess.
Yeah.
We can label it whatever we want, but it is definitely a feeling when we allow our that feeling of non-grip. Then the shoulders relax, the back of your tongue relaxes, your jaw kind of open. It's really cool when you practice that. Maybe that's something we could write about someday. Um, the practice of surrender is not weak. It is it is a powerful navigating. I'm telling myself it's a powerful navigating practice that allows perhaps someone to see the trees in the forest. You know that old saying, they're so uptight or angry they can't see the forest through the trees. Well,
Yeah.
maybe that practice of surrender and softening one's survival
Yeah.
um, uh, conditioning. I'm really, because little babies, they don't. So, but when we look at ourselves as I'm always adored, I'm adored. Wow. Then that allows me to just kind of relax into the idea and surrender into the idea that there is something beyond my third dimensional human view. And that's, what is it when we're reading another Dan Brown book? God, what a great author. Where you're in a dark room, and all of a sudden, it's interesting how all of a sudden your other senses become super, um, super intensified, super sharp. So when we just close our eyes and sit in that darkness and tune into this new surrender. You'd be surprised. Like you said, there's just all kinds of things, all kinds of potential and possibilities that are right here when you surrender.
And and Rick Bouton asks, how do you surrender when your whole central nervous system is always on constant high alert? Okay, so this is a good question because it came up because I suffer from ADHD, not as bad as others. I have family members that do, and one of my family members is getting really. Anyways, long story short, as long as you can just focus on sitting still for start with 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be this hyped up thing like they put across. You're not doing anything wrong the wrong way. If you feel, and then if you're on high alert and you feel that is your flow, then be that. But if you want to change that high alert, just try to sit for 5 minutes. It's easiest to just focus on breathing in and out. None of the other foo-foo stuff. I'm not saying it's I say that just because it's easier for me to talk to Rick like that. None of the other stuff out there matters. If all that works for you is breathe in, breathe out, then that's what works for you. Another thing to do is just sit there with your eyes closed, and since your mind is going, give it a job. Tell the top of your head to relax the muscles. Then move down after you feel it relax. Tell the forehead to relax the muscles. If your mind is on high alert and you go down layer by layer, till you get to your toes, well, try that for a month and I guarantee you your mind will start to slow a little. Now, this is only if this bothers you. Some people radiate on high frequency energy where they are in the flow, they can do multiple things at once. So if that is your status, if you feel good there, do something like talk to a audio audio recorder. Buy one of them 4-hour audio recorders from Walmart and just go for a walk and just it may sound like psychobabble, it may sound like nonsense, but just ramble on. Sing songs, talk about ping pong balls, whistle to the birds, say what a lovely lady, and let the recorder be all day, that whole 4 hour, whatever, however long you're walking. You're still being present. So it doesn't have to be as hard. And we tend to over, I know I tend to, because what works for me is a little discipline because I get sporadic and I prefer to be calm. I prefer to be on a very steady train. But it's all, we don't want to push people away from how they can actually resonate with some of the things they're experiencing and fully embody being present. So, hope that helped you.
I wanted to, what came up, and this is a great, thank you, Rick. What came up for me right away is maybe it's just I'm the scientist in me, is cause and effect. I would like to invite Rick to go to the cause, think back, because what caught my attention is constant high alert. At what point, at what age, where did that begin? Where did that start? You don't have to tell us now, but maybe you can let John know. So at that point, whatever unfolded, and I'm telling myself it had to have been something that you're carrying because it's an alert. An alert to me is on watch,
Oh,
on
yeah.
watch. Okay, so when you wrote that, Rick, it right away, and he didn't just say alert, he said high alert, and it's constant. So I I want to I want invite him to maybe journal or get the recording and say, "Wow, where and when was the first day I had that feeling of constant high alert?" Because I'm telling myself it just didn't happen last night. It's the way he wrote this. Yeah, see, it's somewhere, and I know this sounds really crazy, Rick, but they are saying, and oh yeah, I've written dozens of forgiveness journals, and just when you think you burnt the last one, there's a lot more forgiveness. So with that childhood, there's a lot of. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a teacher, and we're all walking each other home. But it would be nice to go to when that childhood PTSD happened, and yeah, is it raw? Oh, is it ugly? Yes. Is it um, tender? God, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe stepping backwards one step at a time to get to that child that had happened. Because once you strengthen as an adult that you live in a safe universe and you start telling yourself, I'm an adult now, I know, and this is I'm choosing, then softly taking the steps back and looking at that horrible, um, horrible experience that A, no human being deserves, B, a little more than a child for crying out loud. So how do we trust a universe as that they can't even take care of a child? But there are paths that our souls are here. I haven't quite figured that out yet either. I'm still learning as to why um, I'm to use what I'm learning from this lifetime. And so, yeah, it's a lot of forgiveness work, but I would just start right where you are right now, get the recorder, and just say, God, as an adult, you're doing a great job. And you don't have to tend to that child PTSD overnight. It's going to be, it's going to be nibbles,
Yeah.
care of
And,
a year.
and something that just came up just recently, Cheryl wrote down a really good process of cord cutting. So it's kind of a conglomerate, Rick. So with child PTSD, accountability has to be taken. So we say forgive, and forgiveness isn't really, you forgive people to make yourself detach from the pain. You don't forgive them to say, here's a pass to do it again.
Right.
You don't forgive them to say, here, I completely condone what you did and it's okay. No, you're like, I am tired of suffering. So I'm tearing this apart by giving this distance. But accountability still from child PTSD, it has to, somebody, they have to, you have to hold them accountable. And if you can't hold the person accountable, then you work with a therapist that can help you, allow you a safe space to hold the person accountable, if only for your own need. Somebody hears it. I need this to be somebody held accountable for this. And the therapist will ask you what happened, right? You explain what happened and it builds this relief, but it's going to be layers. We speak in layers because if it's from childhood, imagine how many years, how old are you? So for every year, imagine 100 layers for every year. So that child PTSD is an ongoing practice because it fucks with your entire mentality. It makes you feel insecure. It makes you feel like you're not worthy in this world. It makes you question your sanity. It makes you question every single decision throughout your entire life. So I know what you're talking about. It's not just about forgiveness. It's a conglomerate of holding accountable, accountability. Now, when you do that, when you hold someone accountable for what happened to you, expect this. A world full of bad decisions that you made are going to be thrown at you, right? So be able to be strong enough to hold yourself accountable for all of the bad shit you've done in your life and stand there still and say, yeah, so what? It's not as bad as this, right? So it's like instead of the pot calling the kettle black, like it's like a murderer telling a person who got in fights that they're a bad person. Are you serious? So look at it like that. I've actually done the forgiveness work. I've forgiven my mother. I've forgiven my grandfather. I had to go back and understand who those humans were and who raised them. Yeah, yeah, but there's still a lot of anger underlying in there.
And that's
But
okay.
yeah,
It's okay, but to feel that anger. I mean, because you don't want it settling into like a cancer or something in your bones, because our bodies are so magnificent. They'll find some way to deal with it.
yeah,
So it's okay. Get pissed off, get
yeah,
angry, feel it from every inch and every cell in your body. Now, do you do anything with it? Yeah, you feel it. You
yeah,
don't, you don't, excuse me, reach out and violate anyone or abuse anyone or lash out. Excuse me. It's I'm all about helping people. I want people to be feel safe, to be angry.
yeah.
It's okay. Be angry.
Because a
Be
lot of
angry.
times, what they try to do is just shut the person who was abused up. If we can shut this person up, oh, everything's better. But that's not that's not doing anybody any good.
Mm,
So you have to feel the anger. You have to process it. Allow it to be like, no, this was fucked up. I've
yeah.
and then the forgiveness later on. Because when we forgive, if you've been through that, like you can accept your own flaws, you can hold somebody accountable for what they've done to you, you can stand there and confidently say, yeah, well, I don't care, this is going on. And then if you've worked through all of these emotions, you've been angry, you've done the journaling work, forgiveness is very easy after all of that, because you're not lying, because most forgiveness is a lie. You're forgiving somebody for their benefit. That's what most forgiveness is. You have to really go through the process of elimination for forgiveness to be honest and genuine. No, I do forgive you now because I've been angry, because I've held you accountable, because I didn't let it continue, because and then when the forgiveness comes, it's real. It's not a stage, it's not a show, you're not just people pleasing to let them feel like, oh, that got swept under the rug, so now we're safe. We can do it again. See, forgiveness has to have accountability, because if not, and you forgive somebody who does bad shit to people, they're going to keep doing it to other people. And they're always going to get away with it because you are the domino effect. If you stand as a brick, you stop the domino effect. But if you forgive and you let that domino go, it trickles down and it never ends.
I would like Rick, and I want to stay focused on what his question was, or my question was about the constant high alert. And we talked about this with that book about the signs where they say as above, so below. What if the what is the opposite of constant high alert? I want to, and this is not for me to answer. This is just some contemplative work for Rick, maybe. That what? Because I remember I'm all about the feeling. And what is the feeling of the opposite of constant high alert? I want, and only, I mean, we know, we could tell ourselves, Rick, what that is, but that's for you to maybe be your perspective change like a drone and then say, okay, let me see it through a different perspective instead of being on constant high alert. So yeah, I would like to invite you to just the possibility of the total opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I like how you said that because I'm all about contrast. And sometimes it's kind of sometimes I can be a little jokingly charismatic about it too much, but contrast is a good way to do anything. I'm experiencing this high energy right now. What you said, what's the opposite of it? Just doing that can send you right into a counterproductive, or not counterproductive, the counterbalance to whatever you're feeling. But yeah, if the forgiveness felt like surface level, then that's what I've learned anyways from therapists and reading and studies and people I've worked with when I had my shop. Um, yeah, it can't just be a forgiveness for their benefit. You
Yeah,
always have, just
it's a
like,
tough one.
yeah, just like when we do our, like Cheryl saying about the ancestral healing. And like Jamie said about going back to just last week, we were talking about this in the live where I had, I can't remember it fully right now, but I had a bad day, right? A bad mental day. And I went out to the desert and I was walking through the desert, talking to my phone, recording myself just for myself. And in that, I found something that was constantly coming up. It's a repeated thing that comes up. It was a trigger. So then I sat when I finally, I'm tired. I get to a place after hiking. Walking and talking isn't easy, especially when you're going up and down hills and through crevices. So I finally get to where my body's a little exhausted, my mind's cleansed and cleared. And I sat down and I thought, when was the first time I ever got triggered like that? And I'll be damned, it only took me a couple of minutes. Went right back to the first time I found that trigger and I was aware of it. Something like that can be so powerful that it could literally heal everything in between. It was crazy. So I hope that made sense to you. Like I said, like Jamie said, if you want, so when I said high alert, I thought you were talking about like the ADHD or hyper energy, right? A lot of times we can only burn the energy out. Because if you try to sit with the energy and it's too much, it can do the counterproductive matter rather than meditation. So, like I said, record something, take a long walk. That's how I got it last week.
Yeah,
Peace,
yeah.
my brother. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna
So,
pull some cards, getting close to the hour.
yeah. Let's pull some cards. So, since we got this topic, I want to pull some cards on Pluto in the 12th house, which is basically talking about our unconscious nature that changes and how we deal with society, right? And this is basically Pluto is all about the unconscious nature that we live and dealing with society. And the 12th house is about hidden realms, dreams, spiritual unconscious matters. So let's see what we got here from the Cosmic Oracle. Wow, that one shot way over there. Solitude. Solitude confronts you with your true self. And in the silence, you'll uncover emotions and thoughts you've long ignored. Through this deep exploration, you will grow more resilient and independent in everyday life, whether at work or in relationship. So this is kind of a good card because I'm really good at solitude, and it's because it's not for no reason like I don't like, but solitude does exactly what this card tells you. It helps me filter through all the nonsense. I can process my day just by sitting alone for an hour, right? So that's probably the message for you, Rick. Find some time alone. And when I mean alone, I mean turn your I've just recently learned this and I love it. Turn airplane mode and do not disturb on your phone. Make sure that there's nothing that can distract you. Find some solitude to help filter your emotions and thoughts. And we've got abundance 888. This goes to where we were talking earlier, trusting that we live in a safe universe. We live in an abundant universe. Whether that abundance is food, love, happiness, clothes, whatever, it comes in all forms.
Friendships, relationships.
Friendships and relationships.
You can't go
Yes.
to and say, "Oh, I'll take two of those and one of those off the shelf." You can't do that. But
Uh-uh.
this world, this universe is so abundant that there is plenty of pie in the sky for every single human being, and tenfold. So
Hey,
yeah,
Jackie.
hi. Hi.
Hey.
I just I love that because you're right. There is more than just money, even though it in this dimension it pays for things. All right, I get that.
Yeah.
But we could talk about that magnet thing that when you're and when you ask yourself the question, how am I going to pay my bills at the end of the month? You're already off the chart. You're already off the magnet. So instead of saying or trying this experiment, I know I am so abundant because I believe that I live in this safe universe that has my back. And I don't know how the bills are going to get paid, but I just know that the bills are going to get paid because guess what? That means I have a house or I have a roof over my head. I have a bed to sleep in. All the little things. You can break it down any way you want. But I'm telling you, friends, friends are priceless
Yeah.
and a priceless commodity that you cannot go and buy. It's
That's right.
priceless.
That's right. It is because that's where we get our frequency from. You know, our friends, family, community, this is the abundant frequency. And when we tap into that, one thing I like to say, even if I'm going to be tight on my bills, one thing that I constantly tell myself is, what am I going to buy myself after I pay all my bills? That seems to cover it all. And then I'll go and buy myself something, even if it's $10. I'm like, that's what I said I would buy myself. I'm getting it.
And that is practicing trust in the universe. There's a really wonderful book by Carla Shin. It's a little itty bitty book. It's called the Game of Life, and it tells you she has that exercise, John, where she goes and it's like she wants this blanket or whatever, and she says, "No, I trust the universe is going," and it says it right there in this little book. So she goes and she buys the blanket, and all of a sudden she gets a bonus, and it's just crazy. The minute you let the invisible, the minute you embody that trust
Yeah.
and that you know that I really believe there is so much energy of abundance and it looks different for every individual. I know that it's it's for me. So I'm going to go and buy what you already have your eye on. So good for
Yeah.
you.
And you know what? Check this book out too. It's only like $7, right? but just filling your head with positive things. This is the 12 laws of the universe. This is like, it talks about manifestation, but it talks about embodying that trust. And we've talked so many things that I'm pulling notes off out of here. I've already completed this book because it's really short. Look, very short. You could read it all in a couple of hours, but what I did to allow it to absorb is I read one law a day for 12 days.
Oh,
And it does. It's like once you start, you can feel it, you can see it in your universe. You'll read one law in the morning, put it down because it's only like 2 pages, and then your universe ripples out. So just, I don't know, you've said so many things today that came straight out of this book, and I know you haven't read it. So I was like, it's something I wanted to put out there. Check that book out, Rick. That might help you too.
you
Writing
know what's
spirit a letter. Yeah, Jackie even says writing spirit a letter helps too. Yeah.
yeah, that's what we got off track for a few years. But I agree, Jackie. It's however the conversation we always call it. It's a meeting with our CSO, our chief spiritual officer, and I kind of giggle because really it is talking with the invisible. But it really is. It's a nice practice. Okay, that's awesome, Jackie, to know that you do that. I didn't know that you do that. Yeah. May McCarthy is the gal who wrote the little book. There's so much information. I want to go back real quick. I had some real big issues, and I got there's some processes, and one of them was at that Center for Spiritual Living on Rancho. I don't know, they only do the course once in a while. It's called the quantum process, and literally the perpetrator I was able to put into my story, so I got to rewrite my story. That
Yeah.
loop has not come back or played for me in about, I think I did it 4 years ago. So there are different paths to, but this particular one that was very successful for myself 2 times is the quantum process. So
You know,
anyway,
you said something about rewriting your story. And what I've been getting from the Matrix messages is to start bringing more creativity, even make believe, into rewriting any narrative that you see. If things don't look good, then create it, write it in your head, even if it's not true. You make it true. Because what is the invisible, Jamie? What is spirit? It's inside of you. It's inside of you. That's why it's invisible. We don't look unless we're looking in the mirror, but even then, we're not looking inside. So when we start rewriting it, and I always go back to this, but I'm going to keep going back to this. My journaling, I remember a long time ago, I was writing all of this, oh, woe is me stuff, right? Everything's happening to me, to me, to me. And I would experience that same day. I'd go out and I'm like, oh my God, it's like I wrote the script oh, it's like I wrote the script to this day.
wow.
So that was the key. And I started writing a different story. Started writing how everyone in my life was healing at the same time. I write it how everyone was finding revelations within their own heart at the same time. I wrote how people weren't angry anymore at others. And guess what? It worked. So writing to your spirit does work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's 12 laws of the universe, Rick. It's a short read. And like I said, do one law a day. This I'm really big on breaking things down. You know, it was because of what happened from my injuries. I had a lot of brain damage afterwards, right? The nerves from the spine, my neck, hit my head traumatically a bunch of times, but my mind didn't work like it used to. And if you ask anybody that I used to work with in the plumbing industry, they would tell you Johnny is the plumbing code computer. You could call him at any time of the day. He knows what code, what you need. And I did. I used to have a quantum computer for memory in my brain. But after the injuries and after the brain damage, I wasn't able to read entire books. And even more, I wasn't able to absorb, right?
Mm.
To absorb. So I break things down when I read them now. I'm going to buy a book on Goetia. I'm going to do them one at a time. And I'm going to give myself 1 week for that all to absorb. I got a small little book like that called 12 Laws of the Universe. I'm going to read one law a day and let that absorb because it's a short book. It's not a big practice, right? So if you take steps into doing things like that, instead of looking at a book like, oh my God, I am so frustrated, I didn't read that book yet. Did you break it down? Did you give yourself space? Did you love yourself enough to say, I don't have to read this all right now. I can break it down so I can properly absorb it. So try it like that and see how it works for you.
Great point. I agree.
Any closing notes, Jamie?
Um, no, maybe we can visit more. I want to talk about the idea that I was in, and we all were in our mother's mother.
Yeah.
We were created 3 generations back. So I want to learn a little bit more about that. You said it was the crone story. So I'm going to ask my the Daughters of Light, the coven, what their thoughts and ideas, because they're really versed in all that. But yeah, I want to go because I've been nonstop thinking about that idea of that is how miraculous this universe is. This universe is so precise. And so I really, I want to delve into it, maybe closer to the winter solstice or something. But I it says here that I can help heal a legend of conditioning by going back and visiting the idea of me being in my mom's belly as a baby. God, that just blows my mind. So that's
Yeah.
all I want to say. And just remember that the 888, I've had 888 on my altar. Literally, if I take a picture and send it, you're going to say, what? It's
Yeah.
tattered, but 888 is so, it's almost like a talisman, is what you say.
Talisman.
Yeah, and it is unbelievable. The minute you say yes to everything,
Yeah.
the universe is saying yay.
Yup.
So enjoy. Look at your relationships. Look at your friendships. Look at just as above, so below. Just change your perspective 180 and see what you come up with.
Yeah. You made an impact on me one time when you know how my phone goes, and it was driving me bonkers. And you said, "Wow, look at how amazing that is that you have so many people that want to reach out to you." And I was like, "Oh yeah." So remember, like she said, our friends, our families, our people, lift your people up with little ways like that. That is really important. You see somebody struggling. Hey, well, have you ever thought of this? Boom, it helped me. We learn something new every day. All right, folks. Well, thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, I love that saying, how we won't be standing under anything again. I've heard that before too. It's hard to, like I tell my kids, you guys wrote a new dictionary and I'm still off of Webster's. So give me a revised edition and then I'll be able to catch up.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week, which will be the 16th. All right. Take care. Bye bye. See you later, Jamie.
Bye.
There we go. And